Hi all. Sorry for the inconvenience. So we will be restarting the session again as since we had some technical issues and some of us missed the session. So now you might have heard about the word business analysis and business analyst more often, and this is one of the common word which you find in most of the software professions. But um, as a profession, it's some kind of analysis you perform on some kind of data or some kind of input, some kind of output, and then you derive some kind of valuable deliverables out of that. So that is basically about business analysis. And business analyst is a professional who does that activity. And you find this word business analyst more often used in software systems. But by profession, it is not only limited to software; it's spread across all domain. Like you will find a business analyst in banking domain, finance, marketing, social media, in all areas of the profession across all verticals. Even you find in aviation, and also you will find in investment banking. So it's basically a kind of analysis. So when you look for working as a business analyst, you need to have a kind of analysis skill set, and always you should be open to see more information and collect more information, gather more information and process it and come to a conclusion. And also when you come to any conclusion, then you need to be aware of what kind of output the client is expecting, because there may be a case where client is expecting some kind of options. So in that case, you are not supposed to come up with one conclusion and say that this is the option you have. In that case, their client expectation will be like you come up with multiple options, giving the best and the pros of that options, and then client or the customer chooses that. So that's how the expectations. So the expectations varies from each project, each task, and each area of work which you carry out. And as a profession, when you look for working in a particular area, if you have some kind of skill set in that particular area, that will be an added advantage, because you will be able to apply some kind of additional inputs and value addition to the client. Suppose you are working as an analyst in social media, and if you are very good in social media, probably your skill set of social media might be very useful, and it could bring out some value addition to the customer. And today we will see some of the components of business analysis at a very high level. So we have one of the tasks is identifying the stakeholders and roles and responsibilities of each of the parties involved in a business analysis task, and also estimate. As you are aware that in every kind of activities there are some kind of estimates, like when you're given a task or when you're given a work, there will be like expected time to execute that work. And also planning. Like any task, you will have some kind of planning on how you want to carry out the task or how you want to go ahead and execute that particular work. And also based on the type of project, you may also have to plan how you are going to approach and how you are going to prioritize your activities, because in a real-time project, you will be having multiple activities happening simultaneously. And there may be a case that you may be working on multiple projects also, or maybe in a single project, multiple activities. So you may also have some kind of prioritization based on your deliverables and client's expectations. And also you need to decide what kind of deliverables the client is expecting, and accordingly you need to give the output. And since unlike the coding, software coding, where you deliver a piece of code, the client knows that this is the code information you have developed, and they can physically verify or they can physically measure that. In business analyst, your output may not be always measurable in terms of some kind of physical quantity. So it's up to you that you define some kind of metrics so that your client or your stakeholder is informed about what you are doing and how progress you are making and what is the current status. And when you say this kind of information, mostly it comes in a kind of a report, or it comes in a kind of some documents or artifacts that you present to the client. And before we go into the further details, we see who are the stakeholders. Stakeholders are basically the parties who owns the project. And in a project, you will have a project owner who actually owns that particular piece of project and ensures that that project is taken to the logical conclusion. And there will be a party who is actually funding that particular project. That may be a sponsor. It's like the party who is putting the funds is called a sponsor, and there may be stakeholders who share the cost. And how you identify the stakeholder, it's a critical thing, because if you don't identify the stakeholders correctly, there may be a chance that your deliverables will be impacted at a later stage. We will consider the scenario as a bank. You walk into a bank and you are going to open an account, current account, basically a cash account. So when you open an account, you will get a checkbook, you will get a credit card or debit card, and then you will get some kind of pamphlets, some kind of insurance products, or some kind of prepaid card or credit card or some other touch cards. So as a customer, it's clear you are getting all this at a single point, but inside bank, each of these products will be coming from various divisions located across various geography. So these various units are basically called as stakeholders. So stakeholders work in consortium, and they have a standard set of process how they want to operate, or how they want to deliver the task, or how they want to arrive at the conclusion. So based on that, they will operate, and you get a unified feeling that it's happening at a single place. And as a business analyst, you are supposed to get that kind of consensus from the stakeholders. And there may be issues in real projects. You may not always get a 100% consent of the stakeholders. So it's up to you how you take your stakeholders to a logical conclusion. And some cases you may have to go by majority, or some cases you may have to go by the pros and cons. And as a business analyst, you need to always provide some kind of pros and cons of every task. It's also have a kind of risk analytics, like say, whenever a task is given to you, you also need to say what kind of inputs you require for the task, and if there is any input missing, what is the impact on your output, or if you are excluding one of the input and preparing the output, you need to underline the risk or what kind of deviations is going to happen when that particular excluded factor is also coming into play. So these are very critical, because when your output is approved by stakeholders, that means like that is a baseline document from where the project kicks off, and at any later stage they will always come back to the requirements, like what was the requirement by the stakeholders, what was the output you given by you, whether it matches or whether it has any deviation. So that is very critical as a business analyst. And if you are not delivering the task, that at a later stage the customers may come back and blame you. And you will now see a kind of input-output diagram. In business analyst profession, any activity you carry out is called a task. And to carry out any task, you basically need a set of inputs. And when you carry out a task, you may have some kind of outputs. And when you say output, it is not mandatory that every activity will have an output. Some cases it will be some kind of visual output. Some cases it may not be a visual outputs. So it depends on project to project, the task which you carry out. Now we are not going into the details of this particular block diagram, because all the terms will be pretty new for you and it will be a bit confusing. So basically today is a introductory session to that BA or business analysis activities. And we'll see the task in the knowledge area. When you say knowledge area, it's like the area you work out is called the knowledge area. And as a business analyst, you are not supposed to have any like say you have a management degree and you may be working as a business analyst in social media or finance or accounting or engineering or even aviation. So it's up to the analytical skills you possess rather than the domain area you have the expertise. And in any activities, you need to plan how you want to approach the business analyst activities, and also you want to know how you want to take the stakeholders analysis. Basically, it involves about how you take the concerns and how you take that project among the stakeholders, and also you need to plan how you are going to do your business analyst activity. So there is no standard protocol that these are the set of guidelines you need to follow. You will have a basic framework like how you want to work around a task, but actual task may vary from project to project. And also in any task you need to communicate the outcomes to the stakeholders. So you need to plan what kind of communication you want to use for the project. Some cases it may be a simple email, some cases it will be a meeting where all stakeholders are involved and you explain to them what you're going to do or what's your analysis, and or it may be some cases minutes of meeting or over a phone call. So you need to plan how you want to communicate your business analysis output. And also as a business analyst you have a key responsibility of managing the requirements. When you say requirements, it's basically you are in your project, there are some expectations from your customer. So that expectation is nothing but a kind of requirement. And also at each stage of your task, you need to know whether you are performing as per the expectation of the customer, and for that you need to have some kind of analysis. You need to set some kind of benchmarks and see whether you are achieving that benchmarks or whether you are falling back any particular targets. Now we will see how to approach our business analysis task, and we need to see what is the purpose of our particular project, and also we need to see who are the stakeholders in the project. Why stakeholders are critical? Because as I told earlier that they are the persons who approve your outputs, and also they are the person who agrees on what they want. In a real project there may not be a single outcome, there will be a multiple outcome. For example, consider a software project. Maybe client want to develop an Android app. So the basic requirement is the client want an Android app. Then the next detailed requirement is like what the app need to do, what the app should communicate, how the app should look like, how the screens look like, whether you should have a web interface for the app. All these are kind of requirements, and these may come from various parties. And when you say requirements, there are two kinds of requirements. At a high level requirements, like say in the scenario which we discussed now, the client wants an Android app. That is a high level requirement because you do not have any further details. When you drill down, you have requirement on how the look and feel of the app, how the app should communicate with the other ecosystem, or whether the app should have a web interface. All these are detailed requirements. And all projects will have some kind of business needs. The customer would need some kind of output. That's the reason he might be approaching you to do that project. And also that particular project may be to utilize some of the new opportunity that's coming up for the organization, or it could be one of the challenges which organization face and want to overcome, or it could be optimizing their operational guidelines. So it could be anything. So at a very high level, you only know that it's kind of some kind of input. And when you see at a plan, you need to have some kind of approach, and also you need to have. I hope all of you are able to hear me. I'll increase a bit more sound. in any task you perform, it's up to your responsibility that you always minimize any uncertainty or gaps, because as a business analyst, when you say something, you also have to ensure that what you say is complete in every aspect. Say when you say you want a particular screen to look like in green color, then you need to say that whether you need your screen in a border, or you want the entire screen to be in a green color, or you need to have some kind of data inside that, and then if data is there, what color the data should display. All these you need to confirm, and you need to clarify that. Otherwise, what will happen is, like you mentioned, that your screen should be green, your data should be shown on the screen. You have not mentioned what color your data should be shown, so it will also be shown in green. So your client will see a blank in a screen, everything in green. So it's up to you. When you say something, you have to ensure that how you want, why you want, where you want, and also when you want. And also you can have some kind of prototyping or some kind of proofs or some kind of proof of concept before taking your output to stakeholder for some kind of conclusion. So for example, if you want to have a screen, then probably you could use your pencil and a notebook paper and write out the screen, how it looks like. Maybe you can even draw some screens, how you want to feel like. So one thing you need to be very aware of output is that the client would be looking more on the structure. They may not be looking on the kind of exact look and feel. In the current scenario which we discussed, when you give a screen layout in a hand paper sketch, they basically will look for where each components are placed. They may not look like the shape or other aspects. So that aspects will be done by the graphic designer who is good in that. So we need to only say to the graphic designer that where I need this information to be displayed. And any gaps in your output, that will throw open a kind of risk. For example, a software system, if you are giving a partial requirements, and before we go into further examples or further details, would you help to introduce yourself, because that will help me to take the session in the right direction. Because if you all are not totally new to the BA profession, then I can plan accordingly. Or if you have some kind of exposure in some kind of fields, I can refer that kind of field to explain so that you can correlate that information. So would you help to introduce? Hello? Hello?
Yes, yes. This is Mark here. Devendra?
Hi, Mark.
Devendra, can you hear us? He wants you to introduce yourself, about your educational background.
Oh yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. I'm using phone. Hello?
Yeah, Devendra.
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm using phone right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you have to introduce yourself so that I want to know what's all of your background so that I can know how to.
When you speak, sound comes kind of bold, not sharp, so it's kind of hard to understand some words sometimes.
Okay.
Maybe the mic, or some kind of sound system is not working properly.
Oh, because I just kept that microphone a bit away from my mouth, so that might be the reason the sound has some ripple effects. I'm sorry for that. So
it's kind of background echo is coming from there.
Okay, one moment. I will then reduce my, because I've kept my laptop at full volume. That also might be the reason.
Maybe, yeah.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, yes, yes. Now we can hear
Are
you.
you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So would you like to introduce? Because if you know that profile of yours, I mean, then I would be able to take the session or correlate the examples from your working area so that it would be helpful for you to understand and grasp the information quickly. Hello.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, hi, Pradeep, this is Shikha.
Hi, Shikha.
I am basically from human resources background, very
Okay.
new to this. I was working in human resources in USA, but I've quit my
Okay.
job now and I want to do business analyst. I want to try this portfolio because I've heard a lot about it and I think I'm quite an analytical person and I'm good at judging things. So I don't know where it will go, but as of now, I'm pretty excited about it.
Okay. Okay. All the best. Because when you have work in HR side, you might have encountered some kind of profiles where you choose. So that also kind of some kind of analysis when you
Yes.
select some kind of profiles or something. It's good
Yes.
that to hear some HR background.
Yeah. Thank you.
Please help to introduce.
Hello. Yeah,
Hello?
this is Mark. I have a bachelor's in accounting, and I want to get business analyst because I think that's the best way to utilize my accounting degree.
Okay. Okay. Accounting is a good space because nowadays most of the business analysts work in that accounting space, number crunching space, and it's one of the emerging fields, that analytics.
Yeah, hi, my name is Shruti.
Hi, Shada.
It's Shruti.
Yeah, hi, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, I currently on a maternity leave. I worked in the sales team.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to gain this business analyst knowledge and start my career as a business analyst. And
Okay.
yeah, see how it works for me.
All the best.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, hi, Pradeep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, this is Spring, and I'm from.
Hi, Spring.
Yeah, I'm from science background. I graduated in science, and I'd like to move into IT. So I thought this would be the good, entry level step to get into.
Okay. Yeah. So you have good grasping of the maths, or?
I said science, so I worked for a couple of research projects. So I believe
Okay.
that I can go with that analytical skills, whatever field it is. So I just thought this would be the good thing.
Yeah. So who's next? I believe we have some more participants who can help to introduce themselves.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Osman.
Hi, how are you? My name is Osman.
Hi. Yeah, hi, Osman.
All right. By the way, I have an undergrad in healthcare management,
Okay.
and I'm currently doing my master's in data analytics engineering. I also have a quite understanding of business analysts as far as requirement gathering, requirement analyst, BRD,
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear.
Waterfall and also agile methodology. I want to see. Are we going to be? Are you going to be showing us any tools such as like doors, or you will not be showing any tools?
Because it depends. Because most of the organizations use different tools. Because you are looking about the tools for requirement documentation, or you are looking for the tools for process flows and other aspects.
Both.
Okay, because there is no standard tool as such, because earlier it used to be requisite for mostly for the requirement side, and for BPM, Aries used to be the most of the choice. But nowadays there are a lot of tools available in the open source space, and most of the companies are working on that tools. So if you are keen on that for the business process side, probably you can look for tools like Talent. It's free of cost. You can download and you can utilize the latest professional version free of charge. And for requirement side, nowadays there are more cloud-based tools. So basically we can only touch upon what kind of information you store in tool, or how you correlate the tools with various kind of functions. So we look upon that area. Because if you know some kind of information on how to use a particular tool, then you can retrofit when you move to an organization where they use different tools.
Okay. But you at least show us how some of the tools work, correct? Because I believe you go to an organization, they will at least expect you to know how to use, like, for example, doors, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll show, because mostly I will be showing the open source ones, because the licensed ones I may not have that license to show to the external world.
Okay. Will you also be talking about SQL?
SQL, no, because SQL, it depends on the kind of project. If you're working on a software project, the SQL may be required. If you're working on probably an accounting side project, then you may not need the SQL. But having an SQL background is very good, because that way you can directly touch upon the database, and whatever the area you work, you can directly crunch the data.
Okay. So it depends on what project you're placed in, correct?
Yes, yes. Suppose if you are placed in a software project, in the DB access, then SQL skills would be very beneficial. And if you are placed in some kind of other projects, maybe you mostly will work on some kind of analytics to derive some kind of information. Say, for example, social media. If you work on the social media as a business analyst, probably you will be looking on some other kind of information like traffic, or how you work and send the information or gather more publicity. So all this kind of information. So based on the project, what kind of input information you are processing and what kind of output you need to take, all this varies based on the project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I believe we have a couple of people more to introduce. Hello?
Yes, Pradeep, tell me.
Yeah. Okay. Because I thought some of participants need to introduce that. That's the reason I just asked. So we will continue the session.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So as we talk during our introduction, from most of you, we had many queries on what kind of skill set, whether you need more SQL or tools. So it all depends on the project you work. So that's the reason we have one critical thing in a business analysis task is what kind of requirement you need to have, and who is the person to approve such requirement. Because in every project we discuss, there are stakeholders like who have a say in the outcome of the project. They may not be funding, but there is one person or one core team which may be funding the project, and they will be financially responsible for taking the project and derive some revenue or derive some outcome out of that for the organizational growth or other aspects. So that particular team is called the project sponsor. And if you are in a software project, you may have various kind of methods for software development. One is waterfall methods, where in which you will freeze all your requirements and all your activities at one stage, and then you move on to the next stage. Like that, each stage you freeze it and then you pass on to the next stage. And if you think about Agile, it's like you have small set of requirements where you probably discuss with the entire stakeholders over a table, and then you discuss, come to conclusion what you want, and then you decide, and then you do it. And it will have a kind of repository where you store your backlogs whenever you want to pick it and then you want to execute. So every day you will have kind of some team discussions on what is the priority of the day and how you want to proceed with the backlog. So that's how Agile works. It works as small bits and pieces, and then you build the core system over a period of time by moving small functionalities every day or every slots. And next is the change-driven approach. This is one which we talked about, delivery of your business value or your output in small iterations. So this is kind of Agile methodology. And also you may have a kind of uncertainty in projects, so it depends on the kind of risk you are taking in the project. Some cases you may have innovative product you want to develop. So in that case, the risks are more open. If you try to mitigate the risk, probably you may not get the product. So it's all depends on your particular project under consideration. You decide what kind of risk you take so that your product output comes. And another thing is that the requirement approval. At any case, any project or any system, there will be some person who confirms that what you deliver is okay and is comfortable with that and is satisfied. So such authority or individual person you need to identify in the project. And it's a joint effort. I mean, there may be a case there are 5-6 persons involved and everybody has to give a consent. So in that case, they jointly give their consent, and probably in a project you call it a sign-off, like the stakeholders giving their approvals, confirming that what you deliver is okay, and they are satisfied with that, and you can carry on the next task. So that kind of confirmation is a sign-off. It depends on the kind of project. Some cases it may be an email. The stakeholder will send an email to you saying that I hereby sign off the requirements or sign off the project. Some cases it may be a physical signing. Some cases it may be physical delivery of some items. Suppose you are working on a physical product. Say for example, you are working on a healthcare product. Say you are working on a medicine. So when you say medicine is being developed, the outcome of the medicine is some kind of formula and some kind of physical product which comes out of the formula. So that's the reason I said it all depends on the project, and you are always equipped to work across the domain, because they will look only at the analytical part. The other things you can go into the domain, and you may have some kind of expert in that particular area. We call it as subject matter experts or SMEs. So they will help you to fill that domain gap. And when you say domain in business analyst, there is two meaning. Like say you talked about healthcare, HR, and all these are domain when we say in a practical way. But when you say in business analyst way, these are not domain. Domain is considered as some kind of area, particular project piece or particular project area you are working on. So that you need to be very careful when you work in a business analyst project. It depends on the audience also, because if you're working on the business people, they consider domain as similar to healthcare or accounting. But if you're working on a core business analyst team or core consulting team, they may consider domain as the particular area of consulting piece they are looking into. Now, this is a summary of the information which we discussed, like how we want to formalize our work and how we want to take it forward. And one thing you have to be very careful is that you always need to produce some kind of documents at each stage. And as a business analyst, when you enter in your project, every discussions need to be documented, especially with the stakeholders. And whether it's a formal meeting or an informal meeting, it's up to you that you send a communication saying that this has been discussed and this is the information or this is the conclusion arrived at that particular meeting. Why this is critical? Because at a later stage, you might have given some piece of deliverables based on this particular conversation, and it might have resulted in some conflict. So during that point of conflict, the other person or other party may decline on the comment what he has said in your personal discussion. So in order to avoid such scenarios, it's up to you that you keep formal record of every meetings, even if it's a casual chat where you discuss something and he agrees on that, you put a mail saying that this is what we discussed and this is what we are going to do. So it's always for your safety, you have to keep this information. And as we discussed, we mentioned that you may be working on multiple projects or maybe multiple streams in a project. Suppose, consider that if you are in an accounting profession and you are working for a big corporate group, probably the corporate group might have got various small companies and you may be working on the accounts of smaller companies. And so as overall, your project will be like analyzing the accounts of the group. But inside that particular task, you will have another subtask analyzing the accounting entries of each of the companies. So some cases, like there may be a priority, like you want to complete that analysis of the bigger group companies first and the smaller companies later, or maybe there may be a regulatory reporting requirement that you need to submit the reporting or accounting statement of this by this month end. So based on that, all these real-time priorities, you will prioritize your task. So it's up to you. When you are in a project, you need to prioritize your task. And always in a real project, you'll be having multiple streams or multiple projects. Unless you are in the pure consulting stream where you only discuss things at a very high level. And there is also a term called change management. Change management is basically an activity where when you approve something which is okay to go ahead, which will result in a change. And when you approve a change management process, it's up to you to ensure that the system or the project or the activity which you are performing is not destabilized by approving this change. Suppose, for example, you are considering moving a person from one of the department to another operations department. So at that point of time, you need to analyze the risk. What is going to be there when this person moves to another department? How you are going to manage the BAU task in this department, or how you are going to leverage the other benefits when he is moved to the other department. So all these things you need to analyze and take a call as per the change approval. And the next is what which we were discussing, how to analyze your business analyst activities, what progress you made, and where you stand in at each stage of your activity. And the other part is communication with stakeholders. This we discussed in our scenarios. It's up to you to decide how you want to communicate at each stage to stakeholders. Probably if it's a casual chat, you could drop an email saying a kind of meeting minutes, or if it's a formal meeting, you could record your meeting minutes, or it could be like some kind of printed output. And one more thing you need to be very careful is that when you communicate with stakeholders, you need to ensure that the information what they receive is only pertaining to their work. Maybe in some cases the information may be classified to one of the groups, so you have to ensure that the classified information goes only to that particular group. And as one of you asked about tools, this is the era of technology, and for every task you have various tools. For example, when you have a project for requirements gathering, you have tools like Rupsit Pro or some open source tools where you can key in your requirements and track it throughout the life cycle of a project. So when you have a requirement of in a project, you have a requirement, and then you have, if you say there are 5 stages in your project, you need to map this requirement to each activity in these 5 stages. So it's like there will be an end-to-end matrix where you can see one of the requirements, how it impacts the other systems or other sub-process. And also the project complexity, like if it's a smaller project, you may have very less deliverables and it may be very minimal exposure. And there may be a case where like there are multiple stakeholders involved. Consider that a new banking system is being introduced in the bank. In that case, your stakeholder numbers will be very large because your stakeholders will include the software systems which you communicate, and the respective business product owners, and the respective business team, and the risk team, and the regulators. All this will be part of your stakeholders. And some may be party as in a FII, I mean for their information. Some may be a party that their consent is mandatory to proceed to the next stage. One moment.
Pradeep, you there? Hello, Pradeep, can you hear us?
Though we discussed some various stages of business analysis, and there are various techniques you can use to analyze your activity. So one may be graphical analytics. So suppose if you want working on numbers, so you want to see how your responses or how the growth or how each activities impact other one, probably a graphical analysis would be better. Or some cases it will be a model like financial modeling. For example, you have some kind of revenues coming in, some kind of expenses coming in, and you want to see the how you want to optimize your revenues, investments, expenses to see the profits. You can model that. So all these things are there, and so in some cases it will be a visual representation, like business process flow, where you express each of your activity by way of a process and you see the outcome. And there are tools available for business analysts to simulate the workflows. And in some cases it will be a walkthrough, like for example you are having a strategic initiative. Suppose in the market you want to pitch in some new kind of marketing strategy. Probably you could do a presentation to your management team on how you want to do or how you want to take it forward, or it could be even a brainstorming session, or it could be even a question and answer session where like each of the participants will ask their questions or queries, or they have suggestions. And in some cases it will be like you will be drilling down into the problem to identify some issues. Say for example, in our organization many people are leaving. The attrition rate is quite high. Probably in that case you will, from the HR side, you probably will look into that reasons why the organization is facing a very high attrition rate. So that's kind of analysis where you actually look into the issues and see what is the problem. And in some cases it will be like your outcome may be a revised set. For example, a company wants to downsize its staff numbers. So in that case, like your output is defined, like the company want to downsize from Y to X. So as an HR, you have to just identify how you remove that Y minus X. So it's all depends on each of the project. And now this is which we discussed some time back. Customer, the party that employs you for the project is basically your customer, and domain is basically the area you work, and domain SME is a person or subject expert. End user, in some cases like your stakeholders may not be the end users. Suppose you are developing a banking system. In that case, bank is your customer and the end users are the bank staff who is going to use that system. And there will be project managers who will primarily look into the financial aspect to ensure that your deliverables are done within the budget. And there will be some kind of stakeholders called testers who primarily will check whether your output is as expected for the particular input. So as a business analyst, you will be having a mapping from input to output. The testing team or the testing professional will verify that mapping and the behavior of your system or behavior of your project based on the particular area of your work. And in some cases, there may be a regulator. So for example, you are having a payment system in your Apple iPhone. In that case, the Apple is not deciding how this payment system should work. The Federal Bank has some kind of regulations on what kind of information you need to pass on whenever you communicate such payment. So there is a regulator there on how this particular system has to work. And the sponsor is obviously the person who puts funds into the project. And when you do a business analyst activity, you need to define what kind of output is expected, and also you need to define each party's role, and also you have to identify what kind of techniques you are going to use for the analysis. And some cases you may have to frequently interact with your stakeholders. Say for example, you are going to take over for my operation activity from one of the user. In that case, you have to sit closely with the user and learn it. So your interaction will be more like throughout your work hours. In some cases, it will be like you will be approaching them only for queries. So it depends on your task. And when you say assets, like in business analyst activities, the asset is primarily the tools provided by the organization. It may be information, it may be software tools, or maybe some process instruments. All these are called organizational process aspects. And documentation is a key aspect in business analysis. So you have to ensure that your documentation is perfect. There are no flaws. And also there is a new area in the business analyst space there where business analysts will look for flaws in your requirement document or each of your stage activities. So with this, we come to a conclusion of demo session. If you have any queries, please feel free to raise your queries.
Hi, Pradeep, my name is Shruti.
Yes, Shruti, please.
Yeah, I have a question. When you say that as a business analyst, we have to gather the requirements and document the business requirements, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the business, for example, if there is any software development project and where the business analyst is supposed to gather the requirements, and I believe there should be some visual representation as well there.
Yes, but it depends because, say, for example, you are going to work on a totally new system. In that case, they may have only some kind of requirements, like they want something like this or they want something to look like this, that kind of things. So you may not have a visual representation. So it's up to you to collect all this information and bring out some kind of representation. So it all depends on each particular project. And some cases, you as a business analyst, you may work on the next stage of requirement gathering also.
You mean to say the visual representation would be only required for a brand new project, brand new software development project?
You can't say that way. It depends on particular project, case-to-case basis. So for example, if your product is already there, and if you want to restructure your screens to provide more good-looking features, or
exactly, there could be an upgrade of the software thing as well, right? Yeah. In that scenario, there would be a It depends on the documentation kind of documentation as the business requires as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So my question is, will there be any session on the wireframing?
Wireframing, we can say about the session, but tool side, we could walk through one of the tools.
Okay.
And because it all depends on which area you, on the background you have. Because if you are from a technical background, probably you could pick up some of the tools and learn from your end in depth. If you are probably not from a pure technical background, probably you could even work with Excel. Suppose you want to give a screen, how you want to look, how you want to view a screen. In that case, you can use an Excel, and probably you can use the Excel columns to represent where each field should appear. Because wireframe, you only have to say.
Or the Visio?
Where, yeah, Visio also
MS Visio would help.
Yeah, MS Visio also you can use. So in wireframing, you will not look at the actual look and feel. You basically will look on that information where you have to see.
Okay.
It's more like you will be looking at as a placeholders.
All right.
So what kind of softwares will be using with this position?
Okay, because for wireframing, we have various tools. So from Iris is there, and Balsamic is there. There are a lot of tools available in the market.
Is there any way that I can go on some website and get the list of the things we will be using?
You can check in Google. You are in some of the things you will get a list of competitor products, but it may not be extensive list. You may get some 4 or 5 products in a one go.
Okay.
Yeah. Any more queries?
So apart from Shruti and Mark, do you have any questions? Shika or Santu, Osman, Debendra, Spring, do you have any questions? Okay,
Well,
Osman,
frankly speaking, I was also,
go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, sorry. I was actually looking for some sessions on SQL as well. So, yeah. And I see that the course content doesn't contain any SQL.
SQL or SQL?
SQL.
Okay. Because SQL is very extensive. It's like if you are looking only for
the basics of
queries.
it. What I mean to say is the basics of it. Yeah, just the knowledge,
Okay.
to gain some knowledge on that. That
Okay.
area.
Okay. Probably we can include the basic SQL, but we may have to limit through probably select queries for a particular table or some kind of join queries, because that space is extensively used. Because as a business analyst, you probably will look at the table level or SQL level, and some of the tools itself has kind of some way where you can filter it like Excel, where you can key in the value just like how you use Excel filters. Say Oracle database has got some kind of feature where you can filter it. You don't have to write the physical SQL query.
Okay.
But we can really touch upon the SQL basics.
Okay. Thanks.
So Pradeep, would there be any tools which would be taught to us?
We will give a walkthrough of the tools. Maybe we can give a BPM tool and also some kind of Visio tools. Like Visio is a licensed one. Probably if you have a license, I can show the demo for Visio, but if you don't have a licensed one, you may not be able to use more than 30 days. So in OpenOffice, there is a Visio-like tool where it's free of cost. So basically, we will be looking at one tool behavior, because we cannot learn one tool extensively. It has to come by way of usage. So probably what you can do, you can give up some scenarios so that you can come up with that respective flows or using your tool, so that we can verify that output behavior, and also you can learn that your tool. And from the feature perspective, most of the tools are similar. Like say if you have Visio, there are Visio competitors. Features will be more or less similar, and only some may be excellent or some may be having that interoperability, like you can in Microsoft tools, basically you can use that Visio in Excel, Word, or all kind of documents. So that's one of the features. So like that, you may have some unique features for each of the products. And most of the organizations which you will work at when you are on a real project, they will have their own tools. So it depends on the organization. Like the organization is too good to afford a IBM tool, they may have IBM kind of tools. Or if they are not too, they are not too tech savvy to spend a lot of money on tools, they may go for open source. So it depends on the organization, and always you have to see that there are a lot of tools available in the open source space, and most of the organizations are looking to leverage that open source.
So for example, Pradeep, I am given a project, and there is some specific tool which is being given to me, and or on which I am expected to work, and I don't know the ABCD of that. So what will happen then? And because
Okay.
this is totally new to me, I have never worked in this area, so I'm sorry for maybe it's a silly question, but I wanted to know what is being done in such a case.
Okay. In most of the case, as a business analyst, when you have some kind of documentation, one kind of tool which extensively is used is process flow. And most of the organizations use Visio, and in that you have to basically learn how you restructure a flow chart and how you use features of your Visio so that your diagram looks more attractive, more readable to the customer. And always you need to think like whenever you structure your document, you can always try to put up more flows or more pictures or more kind of pictorial representation, because when you have textual representation of your output, the problem is that the client may not be patient enough to read a 50-page or 60-page document. Whereas if you have pictures or if you have some kind of flows, you may be able to represent a 10-page information in a single flow. So flow or pictures or that kind of information is more appreciated by client. And if you are totally new to the tool, based on the client, they may give some small time for you to learn and get the pace using that tool. But at a very high level, Visio is the most commonly used tool, and it's very easy to learn, similar to your Microsoft Office or Microsoft Excel. And if any other tool is provided, the features are more or less the same. Probably the look and feel is different, or how your functionality is achieved might be different. Some slight variations will be there. So it's always better to know Visio and one wireframing tool and one simulation tool, because nowadays wireframing and simulation comes together. Like you have a static wireframe, like you just see like a screenshots, and there are the tools which provide real-time simulation. Like if you have a kind of dummy screen, then you want to show the behavior, like if I select a field and what will be the value displayed, and if I select that particular value, what will be the screen output of the screen, or how any new field will show up. All those things you can simulate. So that kind of tools also there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, apart from that, do anyone have any questions? Okay, I think, Shruti and Mark had a questions, and then Shika had a question. So Spring, Santu, Osman, Dibendra, do you have any questions? If you don't have any questions, we can wind up the session. Okay, Pradeep, I think, we are done for the day. Okay, thank you for each and everyone here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so if you have any questions later part, you can draft an email and send it to me at info@excellentonline.com. Okay, you can email me to info@excellentonline.com, or you can reach me at 954-871-2815. All right, I will get in touch with everyone tomorrow. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pradeep. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.